Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with stupid Giulini boxes on Deutsche Grammophon. There were different stupid Giulini boxes on EMI. Everyone loved Carlo Maria Giulini. He was a special conductor. He had a somewhat limited repertoire, which he recorded over and over and over again, first for EMI, then Deutsche Grammophon, and then some of it for Sony at the very end of his life. But he was an amazingly spiritual musician, as people like to say. He could be absolutely profound. I mean, sublime, profound, fabulous, or extremely dull, depending on whether the spirit was moving him, I guess. I don't know. All I know is that Deutsche Grammophon had these, and then they issued this, which is the one we all wanted. I mean, his stuff never should have gone out of print, really. His music making was special, and I mean that in all seriousness. But initially, let's go through this, shall we? They did the geographical approach. Giulini in America. It's like Iphigenia in Brooklyn. You know what I mean? So there were two Giulinis in Americas. Here they are. Because first, he was in Chicago, and then he was in Los Angeles. So there you go. Well, we'll get there in a minute. So Giulini in America, part one, I think this is, Chicago. You get his Chicago recordings, obviously. Schubert 4, Dvorak 9, Schubert 9, which is Prokofiev 1, Dvorak 8. I mean, the Dvorak stuff was gorgeous. The Schubert's beautiful. Pictures at an Exhibition, which was fabulous. Mahler 9, which was amazing. Schubert 8, The Unfinished, The Britten Serenade for tenor, horn, and strings. So that's the Chicago stuff. Now, of course, he did more in Chicago, but that was on EMI. He did Bruckner 9, he did Mahler 1, he did some, Berlioz Romeo and Juliet excerpts and some Stravinsky and other things. But that's not in this box. That's in another little box on another label. So there he is hanging out in Chicago, and what fun that was. Clunk. All right. Then we had Giulini in America 2 when he was music director of the Los Angeles Philharmonic. Now, he took that job with very strict conditions that he had, only a limited amount of engagements and whatnot, but he had a wonderful effect in Los Angeles on the orchestra, on the audiences. Really, it was an inspired choice of music directors, and for the time he was there, it was marvelous. And you get the Eroica, a really slow Eroica, Schumann's Manfred Overture, which is lovely, Beethoven's Symphonies 5 and 6. The 6 is also a little sluggish. 5 is pretty good. Brahms 1 and 2. Wow. Slow but fabulous, intense, tormented. Oh, they're just great. Schumann's Rhenish, which is great. The Tchaikovsky Pathétique, which is okay. Debussy's La Mer and Ravel's Mother Goose and Rhapsody Espagnole. The Rhapsody Espagnole sizzles. The other stuff, not so much. Because he did the Ravel Mother Goose suite like 5 billion times. And his best was like his last one with the Concerto. What they don't include here is Falstaff, his great recording, the great recording of his Los Angeles period. Oh my goodness, no, why should they? Because, of course, there's royalty issues, and it's an opera, and this was not. So the Giulini in America stuff was not complete, didn't include everything, and there it was. Then we had Giulini in Vienna, because he went to Vienna. And you've got Beethoven Piano Concertos 1, 3, and 5 with Michelangelo. And Vienna is the Vienna Phil and the Vienna Symphony. The Vienna Symphony is the Michelangelo stuff. The Brahms symphonies with Haydn Variations, German Requiem, and Tragic Overture. Now, the symphonies 1 and 2 are not as good as his Los Angeles ones. They really aren't, and they have some very, very slow tempos. This is late Giulini. He got slower and a little bit more. You wouldn't call him eccentric because he was too serious to be eccentric. To be eccentric, you have to have something of a sense of humor, which he never really had. And the German Requiem was also, I found, rather dull. Bruckner Symphony 7, 8, and 9, glorious. Oh, wow, fabulous, especially 8 and 9. They're amazing. Liszt Piano Concertos 1 and 2 with Venezia e Napoli, with some pianist person. Who's the pianist person? It was, what's his name? Lazar Berman, I think. There we go. That sounds reasonable. Verdi's Rigoletto and Gottfried von Einem's An die Nachgeborenen. Yeah, the Nachgeborenen. Whatever that is. Okay, it's people that came later. Things that, I don't know, if something happened after you're born, I don't care. So there you go. That was Giulini in Vienna. So you buy those boxes, even though they're not complete, even though you can't get everything, even though it's driving you crazy because you're collecting Giulini. You want everything he did. You know what he did. You know it's not in those boxes. You know you're pissed, you're annoyed, and then all of a sudden this shows up. Yay! But what are you going to do with these? What's the point? What were they for? Why did you do it? You threw away all that money, and then you get the complete box. This has all the other stuff he did, including, which they never did a box of, by the way, Giulini in Berlin. Because Berlin had a whole bunch of things. It had the Verdi Requiem, it had Das Lied von der Erde, it had like a whole selection of other goodies. You have all the other operas that he didn't, there aren't in these boxes. You have Il Trovatore, and you got Falstaff, yay. And like, was Rigoletto in here? I think Rigoletto was in there. Yes, Rigoletto was in there. So there you go. And so here it is. The other Giulini stuff, the other orchestras he worked with, let's just be clear. The Orchestra dell'Accademia Nazionale di Santa Cecilia and the La Scala Orchestra, the Philharmonia. And so all of that stuff is in here. You get like the Franc D minor, and you get like, other things that he did. Okay, fine. So now you have a big box of Giulini, and you're very happy because you have his complete universal recordings for Deutsche Grammophon, and you can do something, I don't know what, with these. These geographical things I find to be, well, they're doing it with Schulte now, right? Schulte in Chicago, Schulte in Vienna, Schulte in Europe, Schulte in Brooklyn, Schulte in Waukegan, Schulte, wherever Schulte happened to drop in. The last box was Schulte in London. And Schulte in Europe is coming because he did other things, but not a lot. So they've glommed them together. And that's what they should have done with the rest of Giulini. I mean, the fact is, if they'd made America complete, right? And then they did Schulte in Europe or Schulte elsewhere. I think the Schulte in elsewhere box would have been fun. You could have finished all that. You would have had 4 separate boxes, and I'd have been happy. And you wouldn't have to repurchase, buy all this stuff all over again to get this sucker. But we had no choice, did we? We were screwed. And so now we have lots of Giulini, more than we needed, more than anybody could reasonably expect. Stupid Giulini boxes. It never ends, does it, friends? So keep on listening. Thanks for joining me. Take care.